Gcam on the Poco F1 completely transformed the camera. A big part of that was that the IMX363 on the Poco F1 was the same one that was on the Google Pixel 3. Now with the Redmi K20 Pro, it's using the IMX586, while the Google Pixel 4 is still using the Sony IMX363. So today I want to go ahead, talk about what my recent experience has been using the newest crop of Google Cam or Gcam APKs on the K20 Pro. It's Gcam 7 for the most part. I'm also on Android 10 and MIUI 11, so there's going to be compatibility things that are specific to people in my position. First, I want to go ahead and talk really quick about the different Gcam mods that I ran. I ran one from Yearnix. I'm in the development community with him on Telegram. They've been really cool about answering questions of mine, sharing their latest work with me. Other Gcam mod is not from him. It's from someone else. I'm not exactly sure who it is. Both of them have the recent Gcam user interface. Whether or not both of them have nightsight, it kind of has to do with which libraries are being loaded in, but it seems as if both of the mods I ran do utilize like the built-in tripod mode that Google isn't advertising, but is still there. I'm going to be doing a follow-up video specifically on the subject of Gcam, some of the technology and some of what's going on behind that. I will have that video coming in the next couple days. Subscribe with notifications. If you want to download both of the specific Gcam mods I've used, I'll have links down to my website where I'll have a little bit more information and where you guys can go ahead and download them. Let's hop over the computer and let's review some of the images together. Guys, so we're gonna go through and review some of these images. One thing that is important to keep a note, I did not delineate between each version of Gcam I was using. It's important to understand that there is going to be like a variation in between the different versions of Gcam, and there's really like no way for me to kind of weed out which one is going to be better. Now, as you guys can see in this image, even though we kind of have plenty of light, Gcam does have more noise. And Gcam is sharper. The Redmi camera has less noise, but it looks a little bit muddier. Let's go back. Now, it is also worth noting that I did test night mode on the K20 Pro versus Gcam in good daylight. And the differences are kind of, it's really a trade-off, right? And just using both of these cameras back to back in general is kind of a trade-off. As you can see, we do have like a higher level of noise in most of these pictures, and it's kind of disappointing. The other thing is that while some of the Gcam ports, we do have support for the ultra wide angle, it's not all of them. We have a ton of noise right here. We have lots of detail, but we can see how Gcam is trying to artificially push the shadows instead of necessarily stacking these images. And it's not even close to the same kind of astonishing performance that we had on the Poco F1. Now, throughout this test, I used the tripod along with night mode and Gcam so that Gcam would be aware that the camera was not moving. I left the stock camera app on auto HDR. That said, I'm not quite sure what the difference is in the HDR mode for stock MIUI 11 camera are or on Xiaomi EU, but it is worth noting that there is a little bit of variation. It's not the same. Here we have more noise, but we have more detail. It really depends on what you are kind of looking for. The focus was something that was kind of surprising, right? That Gcam was like nailing focus on the speedometer of my motorcycle. And for these images, we did put the camera on a tripod. Now, when we use the cell phone on a tripod with Gcam, the results that we get are pretty good. I'm not even going to review what the wide angle was because in my opinion, it was completely unusable. Here we go though. We have a night sight image. You can see we do have some motion blur and I use night sight on both of these. And it is worth noting that when we do use night sight on the stock camera app, we have a ton of detail lost. It looks super muddy, and it's just not as like sharp and crisp as Gcam is, although Gcam has more noise, so it's definitely a trade-off. I put my phone on a stick, on a tripod type of thing. I'll have video overlaid showing you how I did that to capture some of these. Gcam is shooting some of this stuff in 16:9. That's an option that you have. But you really have to decide how are you going to use Gcam on the K20 Pro, because it's not just take out the camera and it's always going to be better. Something that did kind of surprise me was the amount of detail that we were recapturing when using this, although we are still capturing noise, and that is disappointing. It is kind of a better looking photo on a small screen, but when we take the image and we look at it on the computer, it definitely does fall apart. Let's take a look at some of these longer exposure images that we had. It is worth noting that when I did take these images, it was getting extremely dark. So the fact that we have the amount of detail left over by Gcam, even though we have a slightly noisier image, is pretty cool, right? Like, this is night mode, K20 Pro, stock camera on a tripod. All Xiaomi would need to do to really give us like a significantly better amount of performance on the stock camera is to go ahead and give us accelerometer controls, so that when the camera senses it's on a stable platform, it takes a longer exposure, and then we could be getting pretty comparable images. Unfortunately, Xiaomi is going to be lazy and we're not going to get this. Here are two images shot on a tripod with night mode, and as you can see, night mode on a tripod at night, it has really good results. With both of these Gcam mods, there's maybe a little bit more on the left, and as always, I will have links to where you can download both of these on my website down below. The other thing that is kind of frustrating, though, is that when you just pull out Gcam and you snap a photo with it, everything auto, you can get really good results depending upon which mod that you do. Okay, as you guys could see by the overall performance of both of these Gcam mods, the performance is inconsistent depending upon the port, depending upon the XML library, and it's just making the process of getting the best images possible out of the K20 Pro kind of more complicated. It's stuff that will be changing and will be getting updated constantly, and if you want to use it, the Gcam, and if you want to use the Gcam mod, I would suggest that you do it. Just remember that at the end of the day, the most seamless possible experience is probably going to be with the built-in camera. And if you guys want to see how to take the best images possible, if you guys want to see how to take the best possible long exposure images possible, go ahead and check out this video right here. It's a video I did in Malaysia. And until next time, it's been Mitchell coming to you guys from Hanoi. Peace.